Welcome to the show. I'm James.
I'm Riley.
And I'm Bell.
And today we are discussing the Coen brothers movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Jeez.
Finally.
We'll laugh, we'll argue, you might get a little too into it, but at the end of the day, they're just movies.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, thank you.
You hear the za on the end of that? That was
Movies.
like a Metallica kind of movie zaya.
We're gonna get some za after this.
Spoiler alert, here's a segment. We're the show that got a recent 5-star review that I will now read verbatim. This comes from Ishmael CM. They said, great podcast. I'd write more, but I fear that the unwashed and very young may misconstrue or disregard any nuance presented. And that is one responsibility I will not cast aside.
Thank you. That's very responsible of you to say that.
Fans of the show will understand.
Yes, that's a reference to
Last
recent
two
events.
episodes, really.
Were you guys unwashed? I'm very confused.
No, we're washed. But those poor unwashed, they need a shower. They need some help.
Let's move on. Belle, what are you giving this movie out of 10? You picked this movie.
I did. Thank goodness we chose it. I'm very excited. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is jam-packed with action, comedy, great music, and a lovable quirk that sometimes toes the line of fever dream and instant classic, but it manages to stick the landing and become a movie that'll stick with you for years to come. 9.2 out of 10.
Hard to disagree. Riley.
9.2.
Out of 10.
Okay, well, I'm glad I wrote this.
Out of 18.
Maybe it's not for everyone, but this movie and its soundtrack pushes me onto the sunny side of life every time. I'm giving it an 8.5. This is one of my formative movies. My family used to listen to this soundtrack on repeat on road trips.
Constant soundtrack at the Murdoch house.
Me and my 3 brothers. All sing in harmony.
Oh, that'd be
It was
lovely.
the Murdoch family choir. James?
Delightful. How have I never seen this? Oh, it's because no one ever watched it who was compelled to recommend it. 6.9 out of 10.
You never watched it?
No, I never saw it.
Dang.
Whoa.
I've seen at least 3 other movies from these directors, and I enjoy them more than this one.
I mean, the Coen brothers, yeah.
They're hit or miss. This is like This is Baxter Scruggs. Is that what the show is
Buster
called?
Scruggs,
Buster Scruggs
I didn't
Territory.
watch that one. But that one was a, what do you call it?
Anthology.
Yeah,
Musical.
bunch of different stories.
I think that this movie was like, it's goofy and quirky and fun, but there's not enough, it's not funny enough or emotional enough or anything enough for me to be like, I need to see this again in my life. And I think everyone felt like that, and that's why no one ever was like, you need to see it. Although I love Man of Constant Sorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Great song.
I'm not going to do it. But I would argue lots of things after we do our sponsors.
I'm sure you will. Hey, Vessi, thanks a lot for sponsoring today's video. I just want to shout you out.
Love you,
so
Vessi.
much. Your shoes. These are all going to be directed to the second person. Vessi, your shoes are known for being waterproof. They're lightweight, they're easy to pack, and they're breathable. I don't need to worry about the weather anymore thanks to you and your dual climate knit material that keeps my feet warm during winter and cool during the summer. This should just...
These are the wedding speeches for the brands.
Yeah.
The next one's a haiku. Super easy to slip on and take off, comfortable for traveling, fit almost any occasion and suitcase. Riley's probably wearing them right now. And you know what else I like about your shoes, Vessi? They're 100% vegan. And what's that? You're offering me $25 off using the code TJM at checkout? Scandalous. Check them out at vessi.com/TJM and use code TJM.
You taught me that shoes could be vegan.
Thanks to Secret Lab. Thank you, Secret Lab, for sponsoring this video. Secret Lab, your chairs, you know, they're just designed to keep me comfortable for long nights of work and play. And your Titan Evo 2022 series chair offers 4-way lumbar support, comes with a magnetic memory foam head pillow, and is offered in different upholsteries like hybrid leatherette, soft weave fabric, and Napa leather. The official leather of roll-down top desks floating in deluges. Best of all, your 5-year extended warranty is included along with a 49-day return policy, so I'm covered if anything goes wrong. If I wanted to learn more about you, Secret Lab, I'd go to lmg.gg/secretlabtjm. You're so good to me.
I feel compelled to not keep it a secret.
Thanks to Manscaped for sponsoring today's video. Manscaped, what a guy. Your Lawnmower 4.0 is designed to keep my family jewels safe with your ceramic blades featuring skin-safe tech to reduce nicks and cuts. There's a reason people don't do this. This sounds so bad. Leave the cables at home with its new wireless charging system that is compatible with most Qi charging pads. It's cordless, it's waterproof, it gets 90 minutes on a full charge, and a partridge in a pear tree, okay? Head to manscaped.com/TJM20 and get 20% off and free shipping today.
And a partridge in a pear tree, okay?
I got that from Home Alone.
That's amazing. And what's even more amazing is all the stuff that happens in this movie.
Oh, what an adventure.
It is. It sure is a quest, an odyssey, you might say. In 1937, Mississippi, 3 convicts, Pete, Delmar, and Ulysses Everett McGill, escaped from a prison chain gang. Watch out, they're in town. To retrieve a treasure Everett claims is buried in a valley scheduled for flooding. They get a lift from an old blind handcar driver who prophesies about their journey, claiming they will find a fortune, but not the one they seek. And this odyssey starts out proper.
A lot of blind guys in this movie.
Oh, yeah. And they're mysterious, too.
Go for it.
After being betrayed by Pete's cousin, nearly getting caught by the ruthless Sheriff Cooley, and being baptized in a river, except Everett, the men pick up Tommy Johnson, a young black man who claims he sold his soul to the devil in exchange for sick guitar skills. Together, they record a song as the Soggy Bottom Boys before parting ways to avoid the police. Unbeknownst to them, the recording becomes a major hit. Following a wild encounter with bank robber George Babyface Nelson, the men are seduced by 3 singing women. But Delmar and Everett awake to find Pete apparently turned into a toad, who is later squished by the one-eyed con artist Big Dan, who mugs them. The 2 survivors reach Everett's hometown, where his wife Penny has told his 7 daughters that he's dead. Everett loses a fight with Penny's new suitor, Vernon. Delmar and Everett then discover that Pete is alive, having been turned in by the women, not transmogrified. They break him out and he confesses to giving away the treasure's location. Everett then confesses the treasure was a story he made up to convince Pete and Delmar to help him escape and stop his wife from getting remarried. Pete's outrage is interrupted when they stumble upon a KKK rally where Tommy is about to be hanged, led by gubernatorial candidate Homer Stokes. The men manage to kill Big Dan, who is also there, with a burning cross, and escape with Tommy. Determined to get his wife back, Everett convinces the others to sneak into a Stokes campaign dinner she is attending, disguised as musicians. Performing their radio hit causes the crowd to go wild, despite the protestations of Stokes. Protestations? Protestations?
Yeah, more T than D.
Governor Pappy O'Daniel seizes the opportunity and grants the boys full pardons, while Penny agrees to remarry Everett if he retrieves her original ring from their cabin in the valley. From the cabin in the valley, which Everett had earlier claimed was the location of the treasure. There, Sheriff Cooley is waiting and orders them hanged despite the pardons. As Everett prays to God in desperation, the valley is flooded and they are saved. Back in town, Everett presents the ring to Penny, who identifies it as her aunt's ring and declares she'll only marry him with her wedding ring, which is now at the bottom of a lake. They pass by the blind man, who cranks his handcar off towards the horizon.
Prophesizing.
Oh, damn. That's a different song. I always just like jump into whatever.
Imagine if you raised teenagers for whom this was their favorite movie.
Oh, man.
I'd be like, wow, I made it. What wholesome kids I got here.
We loved it. We are wholesome. I'm pretty wholesome.
You know, they're like drama kids. They just love AP English and
the album was straight up on repeat. Like I just love all these songs. Some of them are kind of slow.
You know, you're not the only one. It won a Grammy.
Did you watch this a lot as a young man?
A lot? No.
You've seen this multiple times?
Yes. Like probably 5 or 6. I do very much enjoy it. And part of it goes to, I think of I'm a Man of Constant Sorrow, and then I just watch the movie. Because it's like, man, that song is just so good.
The thing, though, is
of Constant Sorrow.
When you're watching it, you're like, that's A, that sounds great. B, there's no way that's George Clooney because Roman numeral 1, it doesn't really look like it's coming out of his mouth. Roman numeral 2, because we're going through A, B, and C already. This is a sub-menu.
Thank you.
Roman numeral 2 is, if you tell me that George Clooney is that good looking and that good at acting and can sing like that, I'll just kill myself now.
No, he can't sing. He apparently tried and trained to sing the songs.
Oh,
and they were
really?
Like, no.
Wow.
Because his aunt is a famous singer. So they're like, oh, you can sing.
Give him a shot.
He cannot.
Not to the degree that he would be a country music phenom in a land that only has radio.
Amen. That's right.
I saw a meme recently comparing him to Cary Grant. I think it was Cary Grant as like attractive Hollywood actor who's willing to make himself look dumb for humor, and that's George Clooney.
Is it?
Well, he looks like, I feel like a lot of his comedy just comes from just him doing like silly faces and stuff. He's not like super funny himself. He's just kind of like, what do you call it? Sardonic? Wry?
That's a good word.
There's some
regardless.
One of the most cringe kind of like goofball scenes is earlier in this movie, which is when they're in the barn. And the cops are outside and they're surrounded. That's the part where it really changes the tone. And you're like, oh, okay, this is the level of silliness we're doing.
Yeah.
And in that scene, I think that he gets he starts acting like you're talking about. He gets really silly and we're
Sam Hill?
We're in a spot.
Damn, we're in a tight spot.
He says it a million
Four
times.
And the best part is that the first 3 times are the camera's on him, and the 4th time you just hear him in the background as like they're realizing that the fire is spreading or something, and you're just like, what? And you just hear him in the background. Damn, we're in a tight spot. Like 4 times.
When they're leaving the barn, he's like trying to. Like, it's a conflagration. He's hitting the walls that are just engulfed in flames with a blanket or something completely ineffectual. That's when I was like, okay, that's some slapstick. Like, this is basically slapstick at this point.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, like, there's so much physical comedy in this movie. Like, I don't know, the unexpected... like you see Big Dan like tearing the branches off the tree as they're like having this casual conversation, then suddenly he just like smacks him.
Yeah, and he's like still talking to him. He's like, what are you doing? Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
What's the deal, Dan? Big Dan? Yeah.
Yeah, this movie comes at you fast.
It does.
Because like in the first 15 minutes, you go through so much. Like the escape, there's the train where they get yanked off the train because Pete falls. They record the song. They get the congregation. Like this movie
that's
has
in 15 minutes?
Yeah, that's a high speed movie.
Really?
And it feels like it keeps this up for a lot of the movie. Like I feel like the rate of which events are happening is just like blasting you.
Yeah.
But I don't mind it because of the silliness and lightness, because like they don't care. They're like, oh, that was crazy.
Yeah, there's so many events, and some of the scenes are like, how is this tied in at all? But this movie does one of those like big world, small window things where like you're following this group of guys, and then suddenly we're having these scenes with like the mayoral race or the governor race. It is, and you're like, who cares? But that's almost like its own movie happening off screen that they play this small role in. Like there could be a movie that's just about this guy trying to retain his governorship.
Right. I appreciated that as sort of like the background plot that's playing out while the main adventure is happening, and then it kind of all gets tied together at the end. It was neat.
Yeah, because you go like, oh, this Poppy guy is a bad man. He's so mean, whatever. Oh, this other guy,
he
he's
looks
so
like the
fun
Big
and light.
Lebowski.
Yeah, this other guy's so fun and light. And then it's like, oh, that other guy is actually a racist and like the Grand Klansman or whatever they call it. And this other guy's not actually that bad, I guess.
I think he's actually called, okay, I'm not sure, but there is a rank in the KKK that I saw pointed out that is called Grand Cyclops.
Yeah.
Which is why, but then Big Dan is there, but he is not.
Well, we haven't explained the whole Homer thing.
Yeah. So we should probably say that.
Let's do it now. The opening crawl, it shows, it says, they say at the opening of this movie that this is based on the Odyssey by Homer.
Well, do they even say that? It says, "Oh Muse, relay the story" or whatever. I think it has the quote from the Odyssey. It doesn't say this is the Odyssey, but it has the same like appeal to the muse, which happens in a lot of Greek stuff going on. And
those are the first lines of the Odyssey.
At the front of the Odyssey, the main guy's name is Ulysses. It's obviously based off.
Ulysses, by the way, is the Roman reading of Homer.
Huh?
In Roman tellings of the Odyssey, they call Homer Ulysses.
Homer?
It's Homer's the Odyssey, is it not?
Homer is the author of the Odysseys.
Wait, who's the main character?
Odysseus.
Odysseus is
and they call him Ulysses.
My bad.
Yeah,
Odysseus is Ulysses. My bad.
Sorry, I just had brain problems.
Yeah, me too.
The Simpsons?
Yeah, so the Coen brothers have said, obviously, this is based off the Odyssey. A lot of the events track pretty closely. I mean, like there's some stuff that like doesn't really track exactly, like Homer Stokes it's still unclear.
Well,
I was trying to find out who he is supposed to be.
They've never read the book.
That's the thing.
Yeah, so the only one who's read it is Delmar. That actor is the only one on set who had ever read.
At the time they filmed anyways.
Well, it's the thing. Same thing with Fargo. Because at the beginning of Fargo, it says this is based on a true story. And it was just a lie.
What is?
It's not based on a true story. It's just completely fiction. They just say that at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of scandalous.
But I think it's kind of funny because it's like you would totally believe that it was based on a true story because the characters and everyone are so like ordinary, which is part of its charm.
Not this one though.
This one is not so
they're not ordinary,
but at the same time, I don't know, as a Canadian, I don't know anyone from Mississippi. So like I can sort of believe that in 1937, everybody's talking like this, mercy me, oh Lord, okay.
I mean, they probably talk like that, but I don't know, they're like, I won't use fop. I'm a Dapper Dan man.
I'm a Dapper
that's
Dan
his whole
man.
personality. That part might
There's
not be
so
real.
much Dapper Dan in this movie too.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. But anyways,
wait a second. Who elected you leader of this outfit?
So the reason we brought up
the one with capacity for abstract thought. I love all his like wordy explanations for things.
Yes, it is so good.
He's like, I'm an educated man, but was he? I don't think he was.
Well, he was put in jail for practicing law without a license, so I think he could just. He was a bullshitter.
He had read enough to
convince people he was a lawyer. But,
yeah. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
Well, I was gonna close the loop on this whole thing. Is the reason we brought up this like Grand Wizard, potentially Grand Cyclops KKK rank is because you're tying it into the analogs between the actual Odyssey and this movie, and like do all the things that they encounter, like the sirens, for example, those women. That's obviously from the Odyssey. So you're saying it's actually what I thought as well. When they get to the KKK thing, is that they encounter a Cyclops just like Odysseus does.
Well, Big Dan is the Cyclops.
Yeah, Big Dan is the Cyclops because he has an eye patch, so he's a one-eyed person. But I also thought, maybe that's the Cyclops. This, because I knew that the KKK had stupid ranks like that. In fact, I'm going to Google them because they're hilarious.
You're going to be on a watch list now.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying. I went to try and like find out exactly how all of the events in the movie correspond to the events in the Odyssey, but because it's apparently used in school a lot as a way to like help deconstruct the Odyssey, the actual Odyssey. All those lists are like locked behind paywalls because like these SparkNotes type sites have been like, you want the whole thing, you got to pay for it. And I was like, dang it. So you can see like the first page, but you can't see the second page. Anyways, we don't need to like fully break down how everything like
I was waiting for you to say you've done that and you made it open source. You made your own breakdown.
Nope.
With quotes.
Didn't put
and
that
page
much
numbers.
effort into it. But I guess I wanted to ask you guys if you felt, you were saying that it moves really fast and a lot of things happen. Do you think that it was like unwise of them to try and like map everything on to the Odyssey so closely? Because it's only an hour and 46 minutes and a lot of things happen, as you say. Mm-hmm. Was it too fast?
I don't know. I don't think that was a concern of theirs. I don't think they're like, oh no, we're gonna map it 1-to-1, because I don't think they did. A lot of things are quite different.
Yeah, but I mean, I think regardless, more like when I was writing the synopsis, I'm like, a lot of things happen here. Like there's a lot of like discrete encounters. First they meet this guy, and then they meet this guy, and then they barely escape from this guy, and then they meet these other people, and then they get seduced, and it's like there's a lot of random encounters.
They're just like fun little sketches.
Yeah. That's how I actually wrote down. It feels like skit comedy. But I think because so much of it doesn't have any weight, it doesn't feel exhausting. Like it's going really fast, but because they don't care and it doesn't come up again, it doesn't matter for a lot of it. Like, oh, they almost got caught, but they're completely fine now. And that meant nothing.
The babyface
like, okay.
George thing stands out as being like its own. It's like a scene with no consequences. I don't think that even.
They just got a ride and then we're done with him.
That's the funny thing. I was writing the synopsis and I was basing it off of the Wikipedia one, and the Wikipedia one just completely skips George Nelson. And I was like, wait, there was something in between here. And I went and checked something else, and I was like, oh yeah, there's George Nelson in there, which is funny because it's a scene that you can skip and still kind of get the gist. Like it doesn't really affect the movie, but after that whole escapade where they rob the bank or whatever, they're sitting around the fire, and he's like, oh, he's with these high risk taking types. They go up and then they got to come down. He'll be up again. I doubt it's the last we see of George Nelson. And then we do see him at the end. So it's like, even for this like little scene that doesn't really matter at all, they set something up and pay it off. And I feel
actually a great joke too.
Yeah.
Cow killer. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and then when someone's like bringing the cow in behind the lynch mob.
So when he's walking away, I thought he was going to blow up because he had all the dynamite on him. He's going to walk into the distance and just explode.
Jeez.
He's like, I'm just going to go for a walk, guys.
Yeah, I was hoping for that actually.
I feel like things like that are why I love the Coen brothers so much, because even when the movie isn't like has some ultimately unsatisfying elements to it, they are so tight at their craft. They know that when you set something up like that, you got to pay it off. So even if it doesn't end up meaning really anything, and even if it ends up just kind of contributing to the theme in sort of like a roundabout way and not really important, it's tight, and you can feel that it's tight.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I remember that. You set that up, and I wasn't even paying attention.
Totally. And I think, that's why that not mattering, it sounds like a negative thing, but I do agree. It feels positive, because like even the bank robbery, they immediately lose the money. Oh, and then there's this he gets rearrested. They just break him out again. But it's just like funny. Yeah. It adds to that like lovable fever dream essence of this movie, especially with like the color grading. It just feels like you're in a dream.
Yeah.
But I actually really liked it.
Apparently, this was one of the first films to use like digital sepia tone color.
Yeah, because they like re-put it back on film after they graded
Oh,
or
is that
something
what they
like
did?
that. Yeah, it's like one of the first movies in North America that had done it. It's like you have the film, then you grade it, and you put it back. I can't
The
remember.
movie
what
was
that
one of the
order is.
first to extensively use digital color correction to give the film an autumnal sepia tinted look.
Oh, it's autumnal. That's a good word.
That is a good word.
One of the first to extensively use digital color correction in 2004? Oh, 2000.
Yeah, this is year 2000.
Oh, okay, sure. I mean, The Matrix came out to like 1999. I just figured by then they were using digital color correction, but there weren't a ton of digital movies at all, really, at that point, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, it looked beautiful. Also, Roger Deakins did the cinematography, who we've
bizarre.
said many times is
One of the best.
king of the world.
Speaking of kings of the world, get a load of these stupid rankings. They were talking about the Cyclops and stuff from these. This would you call them a cult? The hell are they?
The KKK?
Yeah, I
It's
guess.
a
I guess.
cultish
A clan?
organization.
I think that's what the last K
yeah,
is.
that's what, yeah. So they got like Grand Giant, who is assisted by 4 goblins. They got Titans.
What?
They got the Grand Dragons, assisted by 8 squires.
I did not know this.
Imperial Wizard, you didn't? Grand Scribe.
This is ridiculous.
Wow. Yeah.
They're
That's,
the most self-important, like neckbeardy,
they got these
patriarchal
cool
kind
names,
of.
though. Like I want to be a goblin, but I don't want to be
I want to be a
racist.
goblin.
Wow, he's actually one of the goblins to the Grand Giant. That's crazy.
Grand Giant.
Wow, his wife is so obedient. Sick.
So, okay, let's try to make some sense of this movie, I guess. Who's the protagonist, you know?
It's obviously
It's Everett?
It's got to be Everett, but like in typical Coen Brothers fashion, there's no like character arcs. Everyone just ends the movie same place they started, basically.
Yeah,
That's what they always do, and they just focus on the wackiness of the story.
it's true. It's more about static characters. We talked a lot about this when we did No Country
you
for
weren't
Old
there
Men.
for Lebowski.
No, I wasn't, which
He
was
was.
I'm
I was.
very sad about because I love that movie. We talked about this in No Country for Old Men, where spoiler alert for No Country for Old Men, skip ahead 20 seconds. The bad guy survives. He doesn't really learn anything. The other guy dies,
Llewellyn?
right? I forget.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I don't remember.
He does.
Anyways, it's an interesting way to make film, and I'm surprised that I like it so much when the people aren't really learning things. But I think it's because they're so good at like injecting themes and imagery and meaning into the movie in so many other ways.
That's why I wish I did sequels. Like you've just created this world that now I want to see more in because you haven't concluded anything. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to see more. Like I wish there was more Big Lebowski.
There should be a
never will
Coen Brothers multiverse movie where like the Jesus meets up with, what was his name, Dan in this movie?
Yeah, Big Dan.
No. The John Turturro character.
Oh, Pete.
Pete.
Oh, Pete. Yeah.
I love
Can you
Pete.
imagine?
And Barton Fink. They all get together.
John Turturro is amazing in this movie. I just love how like eccentric and weird he is.
Especially because he doesn't actually say or do that much because he's
The most
arrested for
eccentric
part
thing he
of it.
did, and I loved it so much, is when he does the yodeling.
Yeah.
And he
He's
has
so good.
He has the perfect like 1,000-yard stare. Like his eyes just go like, duh, and he's
Yeah.
like, I'm accessing the yodeling plane.
Yeah. His eyes are like rolling back in his head a little bit. He's like, "Ooh." For some reason, I don't know. It's like it's something that I maybe normally wouldn't like, but when he's getting whipped and tortured, his screams are like, they don't sound like somebody getting whipped. He's like, ah!
Yeah, that was actually spot on.
I was like, what is this? I don't know. I thought it was just perfect because I'm like, yeah, that's John Turturro.
Yeah,
He's not going to do a normal scream. He's going to do his own scream.
fair. It paid off.
Is his mouth like naturally kind of sideways, or does he just do that on a character by character basis?
Talks to the side.
Like his bottom jaw is kind of like, just kind of over there.
I wasn't paying enough attention.
I think he just looks like that.
He's a fella.
What are the themes? What are the themes
Loyalty.
in this movie? Loyalty?
Loyalty.
To who?
Well, that's the whole thing with
Who's
the
loyal?
Odyssey and with this movie. Because the whole deal in the Odyssey is that Odysseus is gone for like 20 years. And then politically back home, they're making his wife remarry.
Have you read The Odyssey?
Of course.
I have not.
No, I'm just joking.
No.
I knew it.
She's being forced to remarry, like, and she's given like the choice of among 100 suitors or something like that. And so he's just hoping that he's going to get there in time. And her to still be his wife, and that's kind of what's going on here. But it's kind of flipped here, is it? I don't know.
Well, I think she has suitors. It's Vernon.
It's one guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's like represents all of them. I guess he could. I feel like
she's not forced to remarry though. It's just totally in her camp. She wants the bona fides.
Yeah.
This guy's not bona fide.
Bona fide.
Yeah, that's sort of a theme, kind of like, trying to work your way up into the elite echelons of society. And can you do that by swindling your way there, or do you have to work hard? Maybe.
Well, he gets in trouble for manipulating and lying people. That's what got him into prison, right? And then that's how he gets out of prison too. He lies to the people he is locked to. Because there's this treasure buried over there. Let's go.
Right.
And they help him escape based on that.
I feel like, I guess that's sort of related to this. I feel like the most interesting theme for me was them being convicts, and like as they're going through these adventures, kind of like having discussions and encounters that make them ruminate on the law and human institutions and what you're supposed to do in society versus kind of like a non-human frame of mind, or like a broader kind of like mystic sort of view of what's going on.
Right, that kind of ties into that line where they're saying like, oh well, I'm saved now, I'm good to go. It's like not according to the state of Mississippi.
Right, and I love the inversion there because Everett says, "You fools, you tried to get saved." In a spiritual sense, but you're not saved in a practical sense. But at the end, they get there and they have been saved in a practical sense. But Sheriff Cooley is like, they're like, oh, it's the law, and he's like, the law is a human institution
because he's Satan.
Yeah,
right?
He represents this sort of more primordial, like deeper force that you can't run from.
He gets described as Satan though because
he has the dog.
Yeah,
and the eyes and the white man from what's his face, Tommy
Johnson.
He like pretty much describes Sheriff Cooley.
Right, it implies that Sheriff Cooley represents the devil
that he sold his soul to.
Yeah,
and then when you see him, the first like couple scenes he's in, he always has fire reflecting in his glasses.
Yeah.
Sunglasses at night kind of character,
Which is funny because I read that he represents Poseidon. Because I guess is Poseidon
is an antagonistic to Odysseus
in the Odyssey.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go.
He's always trying to kill him.
Does he have a hound? The hound is the trident.
I think it's a dolphin actually.
He's grabbing it by its non-existent neck.
No, you just you get two dolphins, you put two fingers in each blowhole, and then you ride. They drag you along.
Like that.
and I love...
You gotta hold your breath.
Yeah, it's all good.
I love how at the end, he's faced with Sheriff Cooley being like, no, you haven't outrun fate. And so then he like breaks down and he's like, okay, my only option left is to appeal to this, thing that I don't believe in, I guess. He prays to God. And then his prayers are quote unquote answered. The valley is flooded. And then he immediately goes back to just being kind of like
That's
a skepticist.
Least
narcissist.
favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
That he reneges on it?
No, that the flood even happens.
That they get saved?
I'm like, it's like, what do they call it? Deus Ex Machina?
It's not though, because it is set up.
Yeah.
In a way.
It's just
like,
people...
there'll be it's going to flood in 4 days. And then we watch like 7 nights in the movie. I'm like,
they say it multiple times, and it's also in like the newspaper that gets burned in the foreground.
Weird, because it's like, whatever will they do? Giant flood literally washes away the house and everybody.
But
and
that's
all the
why
bad
it's
guys.
perfect.
Like,
that's why it's perfect, because if it wasn't set up at all, then it would be a Deus Ex Machina. But because it has been set up multiple times, we're hearing about a flood the whole movie, and so when it actually happens, you're like, it's kind of like a puzzle piece, like slotting into place. You're like, this is fate. This was always going to happen. And so but then that is perfect because that brings up the question. It's like, if we didn't have that, could it be like, we would probably be thinking, what? So Everett's prayers worked or whatever?
They did work.
Yeah, they did work.
They did work.
They did work, but it was also always going to happen. So then there's also sort of like a deterministic sort of
They actually literally worked because if he didn't pray, he could have got hanged 30 seconds earlier and died. And then the flood still happens, but the flood doesn't save him.
I guess so, yeah. But regardless, I'm saying that, that's still not like a supernatural explanation.
That's right.
Well,
but yeah.
But we know it was.
What?
It was God. We
know.
We know
that it was God.
Yeah.
It's perfect Coen Brothers stuff because they will kind of like reference these things and kind of like trick you into considering them, and then they'll flip it right back, and at the end he's back to skepticism.
Yeah, that's the closest thing to an arc because his compatriots get saved earlier on. but he's the only one. He's the holdout, right? And then he attacks them for doing that. Says it's stupid. Belittles their decisions. So it's kind of like, oh, finally, this is his chance now. He finally comes around and like closes the loop on his arc of repentance.
Is I liked his character, especially because there's the campfire scene before the second time Sheriff Cooley almost catches him, and they're talking about what would you do with the money, and like Pete says he wants maitre d'. Is that what?
Yeah, he wants to like start a restaurant.
Yeah, Delmar wants land, and Everett's just like, oh, and like kind of shuffles away the question and actually never answers because he knows there's no money.
Because he never thought about it.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I never thought. Even Pete calls him out. He's like, that doesn't sound like you. And he's like, oh, the police are here. Like all of a sudden it switches off. So when it pays off to there is no money, it's like, oh, that makes sense. That's why he didn't think about what he's going to do with $400,000 because he was never going to have $400,000.
Yeah. He would have thought about what he's going to do with 1.2. Because he originally should have had that.
I loved that scene where they're talking about their plans with the money because I feel like it's a really great moment of characterization.
Not just plot, but characterization.
Yeah, and it was really interesting because Pete's dream is to like you'd imagine that someone with what was it $1.2 million in 1937. That's a lot of freaking money, and his dream is to start a restaurant, not so that he can like be on top, but so that he can be the maitre d' of the restaurant and meet people who are truly elite and have like a few underlings being like, yes, sir, no, sir, blah, blah, blah. And then the last thing he says is, and all my meals for free.
I know, yeah. It's like his ambition is limited.
Yeah, I just thought that was a great moment of characterization in the sense that these are people who don't even... like they're not even able to conceive of a world in which they are truly on top. Like their dreams are just to not be complete nobodies wallowing in the mud.
Like he wants food in the belly. You don't realize
he just wants free meals, but it wouldn't.
It's not free, buddy.
You're paying for it. Yeah.
But they don't charge me.
Right. And Delmar has this limited conception of what it means to be a man. You ain't no kind of man if you don't got land, he says. So it's like, I love the characterization of both of them. They have these limited ideas, and then it goes to Everett. And at first, I'm like, oh, that's weird that I actually didn't get that he didn't say a plan because there's no treasure.
Well, it's because it's foreshadowing.
Right.
We don't know yet.
And I'm like, this is a weird opportunity to not characterize Everett. But I think maybe that's because we get so much characterization from him all the time.
Even the fact that it's 1.2 million is characterizing him because he's overshooting it. Like, that's an unrealistic amount of money.
Is it?
Totally, man. Earlier they get paid $10.
Yeah, they're
like,
in like the middle of nowhere too. It's like, okay, why was this random?
Where did he even get that much money?
I just figured it was just like a bunch of gold. I don't know. Like at that point,
I guess.
Yeah, but I love that we still get characterization of Everett through all these other interactions. We figure out that he's vain. He sort of like obviously has a high opinion of himself. He's very sort of pseudo educated, not really, but.
So you've added on this that last section there. But before I was going to interrupt you, that Dapper Dan conversations and everything remind me of both of you.
Why?
Because you're both gel men. I look over, you're in the mirrors.
It's not gel.
Sorry. Not all of us can have this
fop. Okay.
Yeah, sorry that we have to do our hair to have it make.
No,
your hair is just like sitting there all wavy and nice.
Every time I was watching the movie a couple times, and I'd just be like, it's just Riley there in the mirror. I see him. He's getting his coffee ready in the mirror.
Listen.
Doing his hair.
What do you do to
He's a
your
Dapper
hair?
Dan
What do you
man.
do to your hair in the morning?
I wake up, I shower,
and
then I take a boar hair brush and I just brush my hair.
Boar hair?
Boar hair.
Wow.
Nothing too exciting.
That would be great. I would love to be able to do that.
Do you wear a hairnet?
No.
I actually was inspired by this guy because he was putting so much product in his hair. I was like, maybe that's what I need to do because nothing appears to have enough hold for me.
George Clooney?
Remember, he's just like tapping the comb against the side of the.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were
was-
talking about him or me. Though.
It was thick.
Yeah, this guy. I was talking about you.
Well, I don't know. I'm right.
You inspire me.
I thought you were talking to him.
I was talking to him.
I know I inspire you already. I just didn't know it was about the hair. Any significance to that? We already talked about multiple blind people, but do you guys think there's any significance to that?
Well, one of them, the guy who runs the radio place is just. That's a convenience, like plot convenience, because the whole time nobody knows who the Soggy Bottom Boys are or what they look like. So that includes the one staff member at the radio station, right?
Yeah.
The other time, I guess it just adds to the mysticism of the fortune teller person.
Yeah, it's a trope. Just magical black man It helps the
Yeah,
people
yeah.
and tells them what their fortune is, which was a nitpick of mine. It's like, that's just so cheesy and like lame, and something that probably, well, at the time, I guess, was not, something that should have been canceled, but I'm like, it's just so lame.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do wonder though.
The Coen brothers are Jewish, eh?
Oh, that makes it fine.
Yeah.
They also didn't even help him
They have
like
some
push
points.
the cart, which I thought was funny.
That annoyed
They sit
me
on
too.
the cart, and
I'm
then
like,
this
that would slow
blind
you
man-
down.
What do you mean? Putting more
Because the
people on
blind
the
man
cart?
is like doing it, and they don't help him move the cart at all. So they're just sitting there.
Well, he's magical. He's got magical,
It's true.
magical
He's
blind
telling the
black man
future.
powers.
I was thinking about like, how long could I pump that thing for? Like that would suck after
That guy
probably
must have
10
been
minutes.
Buff.
I'm imagining that character though as a white guy, and I'm like, I feel like that just makes it worse. I feel like the fact that there are people, and we see the signs of like still there being like heavy oppression in that period. Still, like all the prisoners are black except for these guys. Basically, they're doing the work everywhere, and I feel like having that be sort of still a member of the quote unquote other at that time. I don't know. It like adds to the character.
I think it's because he's magical.
I mean, this is why the magical black man trope
Yeah,
exists.
he could have
I guess.
just been wise, but no, he's magical.
Why do you think that they
Well,
open
he's
the
a
movie?
seer.
That's exactly it. He's magical. He could have just been
Yeah.
like, oh, it reminds me of a story about, or like, oh, well, I've learned everything that goes up must come down. Like, he could have just been wise, but it's like, he's, like you said, a seer.
Well, he is. He does. He
Well, he
does
has to say fantastical
correspond.
things like a cow on a roof.
He does correspond.
Work that into his story.
He does correspond to Tiresias, who is a blind prophet of Apollo in the Odyssey, and he gives them a prophecy about their journey.
And he was definitely white.
yeah. Well, he's
Or who
Greek.
even knows back then?
Yeah, I don't know.
Turkish?
So, anyways,
Yeah. Why do you think they should open the movie with that sequence of the chain gang singing and busting up rocks? And then it just kind of like fades to black and the movie like starts over.
yeah.
Then you see another group of prisoners. Well, you see,
The only thing
for
that
the
really
first time, you see white prisoners running away.
the funny thing is that the only thing that really makes that weird is the fact that they fade to black and then fade back in, and they're running away from the chain gang.
But
They could have like made that all the same scene
Yeah.
basically, and have them still like singing in the background. But
these
they
main
don't.
characters don't look anything like any of the characters in the chain gang. There's a clear racial difference there.
I wonder what
So
that's about.
what's up with that?
I don't understand.
Is it just a song they wanted to have on the soundtrack?
Because that song is actually from like way back in the day. It's
Oh, is
an
it?
actual recording of prisoners singing on a chain gang.
Wow.
You mean not just the song, but that recording?
That recording, yeah.
Wow.
Which I think is really interesting. And I wonder if they were just like, maybe there's a reason they can't have it on at the same time as the new footage. I don't understand what that fade to black was either. Like, I don't know what it added.
Who knows? Maybe they just were like, we need to like set the tone of the movie. We're going to open with this. And
Yeah.
then that was just the most.
And I think it did a good job at that, because it definitely kind of like brings you into the fact that like, all right, this is the setting. This is the bleakness that people are facing. There's going to be a lot of singing.
What are they doing, by the way? So there's an existing road.
they're
There's a
hitting-
pile of rocks on the side of the road. Are they pulverizing it so that the road has like gravel on it? Like
Maybe.
3/4 inch crush?
Making gravel? Yeah, I don't know.
What are they doing?
What are they doing over there?
2022, we don't have no idea why chain gangs
Yeah,
existed.
machines that do that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
What song are they singing? No.
Days never finished. Master got me working. Someday, Lord, he
No,
set
it's
me
not.
free.
It's not the same one as they sing at the end when they're like about to go in the graves, and the three
Just
black
pause
guys
for
are
a
there.
second. It was a weird thing for me to sing. I think
Okay, are you
That-
gonna apologize?
no. I just think I'm like trying to think like where do I know that from? I think Cartman sings that in a South Park when he's like,
That sounds like it's something that could be offensive then. But I was going to say the wheels on the bus. The wheels on the bus go round and round just as they're working.
they didn't have that back then.
Yeah, I guess
That's
the
Forrest
wheels
Gump
on
era.
the cart.
You got to go to the Lonesome Valley. That's my favorite song.
You should be in a chain gang.
Yes, sir.
You don't have the ankles for it. But yeah, there's some
weak
cool
ankles.
there's some cool hand Luke stuff going on. Have you seen that movie?
No.
But it has like prisoners in a chain gang kind of thing going on as well. And that's the movie that has the whole like, I don't know, taking a drink now, boss. Taking a drink, that song. Right? You know, like they do that call and response between the prison guard and the prisoner.
Oh,
Wiping it off, boss. Wipe it off then.
Sheriff Cooley has been compared to Boss Godfrey and Cool Hand Luke. Just so you know, that's according
You got to
to
have your movie history.
Man, I find myself with a shockingly little amount to say about this. I think particularly because when I was watching, it was hard for me to write notes. I asked you guys about the pace of it earlier, and what I meant to say was that I found the pace kind of, it's like very, very engaging, which made it hard for me to write notes.
I wrote
things
almost
were moving
nothing
so
down.
fast. Yeah.
I wrote down a couple of my favorite jokes where I lolled.
Yeah.
And that was about it.
You love
Yeah, I tried to do that in the
I
beginning
lolled.
too.
I feel like they also answer a lot of the questions that they set up. So like, what do we discuss about something that's answered in the movie? I guess like I don't know. They don't leave a whole lot open other than just the ending because it just ends. It's like where are even Pete and Delmar? It's just like I'm not gonna get married to you, and he goes I want to marry you.
Well,
and the
they
movie's
went
over.
on, and that's sometime later, I guess.
What's
so.
the deal with her saying I counted to 3?
She's made up her mind. She's counted to 3.
I made up my mind, counted to 3.
and
he
And
knows
he's
that.
like,
Yeah,
she counted to 3. God damn it. You hear it?
Yeah.
She counted to 3.
We got to go get that ring.
I think that's just as like he knows from being
She's made
married
up
to
her
her
mind,
that means that there's no more discussion about it. I love his
He really has to swim to the bottom of that damn lake.
I think it's implied that they're not going to get remarried now because he can't go get it.
I thought he was doing it.
We'll have to wait
They
for the
didn't have
sequel.
scuba equipment at that time.
Just hold your breath.
Get a long pipe.
Real long.
He could figure it out.
Yeah, bamboo shoot like they do in the old cartoons.
Not so,
Make it-
brother. Thou art.
They do.
In the
Some
lake.
people
Dead.
dive,
brother.
like in the Philippines and stuff. People dive just with air compressors and hoses. It's really bad for you.
Yeah,
But
so I wouldn't
So
recommend
he should not
that
do
he-
that. Yeah,
But he could.
Everett, don't do that.
It's low tech.
Man, I feel like this is a Coen Brothers thing, where they don't really it's almost like there are ups and downs, but it's almost like while you're watching the movie, it's never so engrossing that you are like feeling super big emotions.
This is
It's just
exactly
kind of
what I said
It's like
about
an even keel.
This is exactly my my slogan.
Your synopsis, your
My
slogan.
slogan. I was just like, it's okay. Like if it's on, you're like, I'm watching this.
I don't know. It feels like a play. Like I don't
Yeah.
feel like there's any danger, but I'm like enjoying my time watching it the entire time, from start to finish.
Are you saying that there's no plays have high stakes or danger, or that you're emotionally invested in?
In what? No,
You haven't seen enough plays.
I've seen
You played yourself.
2. I've seen many plays.
You know what I'll say is that this movie probably would be significantly worse if not for the music. Like I feel like what did I give it?
It's
8.5?
It's a music movie.
I feel like it might be like a 6 if the music wasn't there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have a 6.9. It could easily be a 6.
They're also very long scenes. Like the concert is a long scene. The initial recording of the song is a long scene.
They show a lot of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the
They play like the
entire
full- yeah.
entire song. Like it's long.
They harmonize beautifully, though.
Oh, for sure.
Another thing that's kind of like, come on. How can these 3 guys who are chained together just happen to be the best band in the land?
I think back in the day, you didn't have anything to do.
True.
Yeah,
Like
so
you may
so
as
you're
well
saying.
sing gospel songs or whatever they were listening to back then.
Yeah, and I mean they were on the Chain Gang, so they obviously practiced singing a little bit. And the other guy sold his soul to the devil, so they're
Well, yeah,
Like
okay,
guitar,
that's
yeah.
it's a
explained.
freaking jam.
That
And he was
that's
very
canon.
good.
That's canon.
We know that. It's
Well,
earned.
and apparently that's based off, a legend about an existing
Yeah, an existing guitar player, like a real person.
something Johnson. His name was also Johnson.
It is
I
something
lost it.
Muddy Waters. Jimi Hendrix?
Oh, Tommy
Jimmy
Johnson. He shares his name and story with Tommy Johnson, a blues musician who is said to have sold his soul to the devil. Also attributed to Robert Johnson, another black blues
I
musician.
also sold my soul to the devil.
It seems like at that time,
My
seems like at
brother
the
also
time,
sold his soul to the devil.
white people couldn't quite conceptualize how
Yeah.
black people were so good at music.
Hey.
They must have sold their soul to the devil.
Something's going on here. You can't be better
Hey,
than me.
wait a second. I thought we were the boss. That's messed up.
Get used to it.
I don't. Yeah. What? I think we're going to nitpicks and hitpicks. Right?
Oh, let me hit that button then.
Nitpicks.
Oh, that slaps so good.
Related to what we were just saying, great line. Delmar says, "Oh, son, For that, you traded your everlasting soul? Well, I wasn't using it.
Hell yeah.
Just sitting around.
The quotes are so good. I love when he goes to buy the Dapper Dan. He's like, well, ain't this place a geological oddity? It's 2 weeks from everywhere. Like, that is so good.
There's so many.
That one didn't stand out to me. Well, I thought like one of the funniest parts of the whole thing was when they finally get Pete back, and then Delmore's like, "We thought you were a toad," and then Pete's like, "What?"
We thought you was a toad.
He's just, it's so
Do not
comprehensible to him.
seek the treasure.
That whole theater scene is so funny. Do not seek the treasure.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that? It's like a yelling whisper.
Exactly, because they're in a movie theater.
You was.
It's so funny.
So good. That corresponds to the part of the Odyssey where he goes to Hades or something, and the spirits warn him against doing so, like his spirits of his dead compatriots. But I guess Pete is like, they think he's dead, but then he's not.
It also corresponds. The main character is a frog in Odyssey.
Nope, that's not true.
Like he speaks French.
Oh,
That's not.
the French had it hard enough.
Are you thinking of? Are you
funny.
thinking of Ratatouille? And that's a rat.
that one's a rat. Yeah,
How about the sirens though?
that was a weird scene.
I thought it was well done.
Why did he leave his clothes like that?
It also makes me
He
slightly
left on his own volition. He
Was there-
left his clothes laid out like there's a person there.
No, I think the idea is that they got him naked because they were seducing him, and then they dragged him off to the
I
authorities.
know. So who left his clothes shaped like a man?
The
on
toad
ground?
actually set him up like that.
Yeah. Why was there a toad in his shirt?
Looking for flies. He doesn't look like he smells that good.
I mean, true.
Why are his clothes like that? I don't know, because then it works better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I feel like this
There's
isn't
a
the type
few
of
things
movie
like that
where
in this
you're
movie. Like, where do you get those beards from? They just show up on stage with these beards. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tommy all of a sudden has his guitar after being kidnapped by the KKK. He's just at the concert with
Yep.
his guitar. He's
Yep.
like, all right.
I know. I
just
think
grabbed
they
one.
had his guitar.
Who?
I think.
Oh,
like
the KKK.
The three dudes.
Maybe, because that's
The
the Homer
You think
Stokes
the
was at the
gang
KKK.
took their
No.
his guitar with
It
them?
came out of nowhere.
No,
So
but they're playing random instruments. Like they're playing banjo in the car at a certain point.
there probably was a guitar around, and he just grabbed it.
That's
Doesn't
guitar
matter.
case.
I
It's
don't know.
magical too.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's a number of things like that early on. They just like suddenly they don't have a car, and then they have a car, and it's fine.
Hit pick.
Don't worry about it.
when the guy's saying that he's gonna pay them to after they sing into the can, and then Everett like quick on his feet's like
Stephen Root, by the way.
he's like, "There's six
good.
of us here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Only four of us can write." You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's awesome.
That was very
On
funny.
account of two of us can only sign X's or whatever. Yeah.
because only four of us can write, and it's like,
That's a good line.
and it's also a subtle way to make the joke. It's not like a too on the nose. You have to like compute it for a second. You're like, ah.
Yeah,
Oh.
related to that, I like how they had a pretty diverse cast, but there weren't too many tropes or stereotypes. Like the blind guy, they didn't make fun of him at any point in time. There was never jokes about people's looks. It was always about the character themselves and the person themselves. Because I feel like so many comedies, it's like making fun of people, and you're laughing at this weird person versus like the stuff that they get into.
Yeah, they use a small person in this movie to characterize a bad guy, I guess. Remember they have
Well-
they refer to him as a midget on the
Yeah.
stage, like sweeping up. Is that meant to characterize or like foreshadow that this governor, the guy riding or trying to be governor, could end up being evil?
No,
He's like,
I don't think they had another word for it back in the 30s.
think-
no, I know that, but I'm just saying for the audience, it's like, oh, he's kind of using this person as a gimmick.
well, I think.
And we
yeah, I
later
guess
learn
so.
that he's a KKK wizard or whatever.
Well, he was using him because he's like, I'm for the little man, and then he had a little man with him.
Yeah, which is like, I understand why he's doing it,
very
but for the audience, you're like, yeah, that's kind of gross to do that.
I mean, obviously that would be gross to do now, but I feel like when I see that and it's set in 1937,
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
like,
think I'd do
yeah,
that.
probably no one has a problem with this.
Yeah, I know that, but you do as the audience, so it's foreshadowing for you. It's like
Even in
it's
2000,
an
do you think
out
people were
of universe
offended?
foreshadowing. You know
but
what I'm saying?
that wouldn't indicate that he's a bad person in 1937. That would just indicate that he's everyone. No one
You
thinks
keep
twice about
talking,
that.
and I keep wanting to give you the exact same explanation.
So I understand I
the-
understand, but I still also think that in 2000 that people probably wouldn't have thought that was that offensive.
Yeah, for sure.
See, now that's a rebuttal. You see that?
No, I'm saying regardless of what the audience in 2000 or at the time you're watching it, regardless of what we think of it at that time,
You would still think it's normal.
Yeah,
so
no one would
it's
identify
offensive.
that.
I know,
in
right?
order for your argument to work, people in the movie would also be able to identify that as something bad.
No, that's not my argument at all.
Well,
I
you're
agree with
wrong.
Riley on this
Well,
one.
I'm saying in order for your argument
do.
to work, that would have to be the case.
I know what you're saying.
Because it had to be done purposely.
It's wrong though.
No, it's not. I'm right.
What do you think? Leave a comment down below.
This is just about, do you watch movies in the context of their time, or do you watch them in the context of modern time?
No, it's not about that.
Yes,
Anyways,
it is.
here's two actual nitpicks. When they're running toward the train at the beginning, like they're gonna try to hop on it, they're sprinting towards this train, and then you can see the conductor riding in his engine, and he doesn't even look out over at them. He just stares forward.
I was thinking about that as well. I was kind of like, maybe he just doesn't care. Like, you're not going to stop the train to take off 3 dudes.
It's so common that he's just like, whatever.
Yeah, because I also was like, when did they start further down the train then? Like, if they're going to show the conductor, like, clearly right there. But
I just wanted the conductor to like shoulder check and be like, ah! Like look in their direction, because there's no way he didn't see them.
Well, I think it's just like he's probably tried to deal with this a few times, and it happens so often that he's just kind of like,
Did you notice that the flower bags the homeless guys were in front of are Pappy O'Donnell's, the governor?
Oh, Pappy O'Daniels?
That's it. Yeah, it had his face and name on the flower.
That's pretty funny.
Pappy's poppies.
Love the right after they get the prophecy, he's like, well, how could he make those prophecies about it or whatever? He's like, well, it's Everett says, well, it's natural that someone deprived of their other senses would maybe develop an extra sensory perception or whatever, blah, blah, have some like supernatural abilities. And the person's like, he said we wouldn't get the fortune. He's like, well, he's an ignorant old man, Pete. What do you expect?
Yeah.
He just immediately switches.
Nitpick, the lake baptism, like when they're all singing in the forest.
Yeah.
It sounds great, but it doesn't sound like they're singing in a forest. It really sounds like it's recorded in a building. You can hear like the reverb of the building they're in.
But I think that's supposed to be because it's like, oh, we're having a mystical moment or whatever.
It's where, again, the fever dream thing ties into it, where I feel like it just explains away all of it of being like, oh, this is just like a weird imagining.
And
maybe.
It's like in Lord of the Rings.
Or it's like an original recording like that other song you're talking about, and they just wanted to use it, and it's like, don't listen too closely because it really doesn't fit. It seems like bad ADR to me.
I think it was very intentional.
It's immersion breaking.
Really good.
It feels like the Rivendell in Lord of the Rings or something, where everything's kind of got like a glossy, not glossy, but like a
shimmer,
a faded out quality to it, and like people's voices have sort of like a little bit of a
especially because the audio is pretty good in this movie. Like, I feel like if they really wanted to have it be like it was in a forest, they would have. Because I remember when the kid shoots the gun as they're walking up to Hogwash's house, I got startled because the gunshot actually like came out of my surround sound.
Oh wow!
And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It's not just like a flat movie like many are. So I feel like if they've gone through the effort to do some scenes where it actually is very directional, they probably could have just...
I think the fact that it was immersion breaking for you is valid, James.
Thank you.
But it was intentional and it enhanced it for us.
That's great. That kid was one of the worst parts of the movie. Like when he comes in and saves them.
That was so cheesy in such a negative way. I'm like, oh, the kid just hops in the car, breaks you.
Really?
Get in, guys. I'm
You didn't like that?
And to make it even worse,
great.
is after he saves them, and apparently like drives them far enough away that the cops aren't an issue anymore. They're just like, get out of here, kid, go home.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
And then he walks in the direction that
they're
they're driving,
assholes.
which is the wrong way. So I was like, okay.
Maybe it's closer to town. I don't know.
They're assholes.
But it's...
What do you mean?
Yeah, they're
That
assholes.
was so great. Come on, guys, we're gonna RUNNOFT. And
Run
it's like,
off.
okay, so he knew, they're spelling it so that he doesn't understand, but he understands.
Yeah.
It was great. It was a great little moment.
That was a very, very like concise, tight way to get across like some resentment that he has for his dad, because he knows, because his dad spells out the run off thing when he's talking about his mom leaving.
He said it so often that the
Right.
kid knows what it means now in context, just in letters instead of the word.
I never thought of it like that.
I just love how it's both an incorrect grammatical phrase and also spelled wrong.
Yeah.
Like she run offed. Like she ran off is what you mean to say, but then you want to say run offed and then you spell it with a T.
I think it should be a word now.
His mother's run off. It could be it could be passed.
I know. I love the double layer there.
It is.
Oh, in that scene where the baptism scene or whatever, before that, Delmar, I don't know why. There are things like this that happen in the movie, and I'm just like, I'm trying to decipher it. Delmar offers Everett the gopher. He's like 3 times.
Gopher?
He's like, yeah, gopher? And he just like keeps talking about other stuff.
I can't get a good coiffeur anywhere.
Yeah.
Gopher?
He's like, yeah, gopher. And he's like, and as they start realizing everyone's walking down, he is like, I think a third of a gopher would only whet my appetites for more or something. And he's like, you can have the whole thing. We shared about. And it's like they're talking about the gopher as like the film is completely shifting focus away from their conversation to what's happening.
Yeah, that was really funny. Hit pick for me. I liked the fight between Everett and Waldrig. I don't remember his first name.
Oh, Vernon Waldrip.
Vernon. Waldrip, that's right.
Yeah.
Waldrip.
I thought it was just so funny how they go in like the old timey fighting stance and start punching each other. And then, I don't know, just as soon as it ends, he like turns into an incel. He's like, never trust a female, Delmar. Females will always break your heart. I'm like, okay, as soon as he loses the fight.
I love that whole monologue.
I watched a video once and explaining like why they used to use that fighting stance, but I can't remember anymore. It was like, I think it had to do with like because it's bare
keeps
knuckle.
the person away from you.
Yeah, it has to do with range because like there's no glove. It was bare knuckle boxing and you just couldn't take that many hits or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Vernon, I love Vernon Waldrip's like wide eyes the whole time. He's just like staring with his look, and he's like shifting his eyes around.
Dude, the
I just
actor
love
who
that
plays
actor's
Delmar.
performance.
No, I love Delmar. Tim Blake Nelson. He's so good at looking dumb.
He's amazing.
Whereas like John Turturro he looks dumb in a caricature way.
Yeah.
Whereas like Tim Blake Nelson, you're just like, he just looks like a low IQ individual. He's so good at it.
This is one of his first acting roles too. It's like his third.
Really?
The Coen brothers had never seen him act before. They just like knew who he was. He was like a neighbor or something like that. And they gave him the script and he was like, am I just supposed to read over this? And they're like, no, we want you to like be one of the main guys.
What?
Like, huh?
Wow, he's only 58.
He looks awful.
He looks older.
Half his IMDb is in pre-production right now or in
He's
production.
popular.
Right
He does.
He was in Watchmen. Great show.
now.
Oh,
in
wow.
the show?
Yeah.
He's been in a ton of stuff.
Wade Tillman.
Apparently-
Oh, he was Looking Glass?
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
these other characters, professional musicians, did all the singing.
Mm-hmm.
There may be other characters that did it as well, but I think some musicians like performed their own stuff on like the stage scenes and stuff. Like the actual musicians, not the real, like they weren't important in the movie. But Tim Blake Nelson did his own singing and in the jailhouse now.
It was a good song too.
Because man, when he starts singing, I'm just like, that has to be him because it's like so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like it does sound like him. But they also did a really good job casting the singers for like I believed that was.
Oh, 100%.
I knew it wasn't
What, George Clooney's voice?
I, thought it was
did
when
not.
I first watched it.
George
I did
Clooney
not.
was played by Dan Tyminski for the singing and John Turturro's Harley Allen. But yeah, when they start singing, you're like, they did a really good job of casting. Because
You don't go like, well, you did, but I did not go like, oh, there's 100% no chance it's George Clooney.
I was like, there's probably 85 to 90% chance that's not George Clooney.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't sound like it would be his voice.
I think I had heard him try to sing before and he was tone deaf or something. So
Hip pick. The acting is so good for all the secondary characters. I mean, the main as well. Like Daniel Von Bargen, who's the sheriff. Very unsettling. The daughters talking about being bona fide.
Oh,
He's
hilarious.
a suitor. So funny. And all of them.
He's a suitor.
He's bona fide. He's a suitor. Big Dan being so ruthless and so charismatic. Like, it was
Yeah, I mean, John
so
Goodman.
good. Except for he squished the frog.
yeah,
that was hilarious when he threw it against the tree.
That was just...
so good.
but yeah, just all the secondary actors.
You got
This is
squished.
So
Also,
good.
Mrs. Incredible is as Penny is his wife,
No way.
Holly Hunter.
Oh, I hate those
The voice of Mrs. Incredible.
those hats. Oh, the worst hats.
Oh,
that's not a good hat.
speaking of Holly Hunter, the hats.
I don't like it.
Don't get me started on
Not a
the
good look.
hats. Their dances were a big pick for me. Anytime characters are dancing in this movie, mostly at the end on the
The
stage.
KKK has moves. Oh, you mean the main guys?
There. The KKK.
I wonder if
was
that
somebody-
visual-
dancing.
I wonder if that's real at all because I'm like this is a whole.
I
they
honestly,
got a whole
that's what made me
choreography.
think that it wasn't real. I'm like, this is an ordeal.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's a lot of people to learn.
I could see them
dance.
doing it, honestly.
I can imagine the Coen brothers kind of trolling the KKK by making them do this silly dance.
But there's so many like large groups of men doing big dance things. Like you've seen those YouTube videos of like a bunch of Muslims at some kind of celebration or Jews as well, and they're all dancing in this weird way, and it's only guys there, and you just put like "Turn Down for What" on it or something. Have you seen those videos? So funny.
Well, like at an Indian wedding or something, and it's just like a big giant train going through. That's a good time.
Excuse me?
What? I can't say Indian wedding.
Train? I don't know what you're talking about.
What?
No, I haven't seen it with.
Jeez Louise.
I haven't
Gonna
seen
stay
it with an
silent
Indian
in this
wedding,
conversation.
but like, yeah, it'll be like
guys haven't-
a group of like a big religious
Jeez.
group of guys in like religious garb, and they're all like, I don't know.
You're talking about religious stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just talking about like big giant groups of men dancing together.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it's not an indie Wendy thing.
AKA My Saturday Night.
You should see these videos. They're hilarious. What can I Google for that?
Anyways,
by the way, there was speaking of Googling random stuff. Remember at the, it's when the guy who's supposed to be mayor, who was like the good guy, turns out is revealed to be the bad guy. And the mob like carries him out. And
I
they
did not
put him
think
on
that
a
was
stick.
real. That is a real thing.
I was like, what?
Ride him out of town on a rail.
Run out of town on a rail.
So I Googled like mob carry wood. And I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to get that. But yeah, it's called riding a rail.
A lot of the time that they would involve, the rail thing would involve like tarring and feathering.
Yeah,
and then they
it's just
dump
like
them
a
outside.
public humiliation.
Yeah, they dump them on the outskirts of town.
So I'm going to see what stupid combination of words I can get to be like group of religious men.
Don't do it.
Dancing
What?
song. Yes, that's exactly it. Like Islamic remix dance,
okay,
that's
like
one.
Eastern Europe
Muslim style
going on.
techno dance. Here's a good one. Muslim versus Jewish dance off. These are hilarious.
Those are Orthodox Jews. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really cool dances done by large groups of men primarily.
And when you put a random
Fine, the
song
KKK
on it,
dance is okay.
anyways,
I just love how goofy
that's
it
why I
looks.
think it could be realistic that they actually did these crazy like the army loves like drill and marching around and stuff. They had some of that in the ceremony we see.
I just thought some of the moves they did were just like kind of outlandish.
Dude, their views are outlandish and look what they're wearing. They're eccentric people.
It very well could be real.
Either way,
it could also be a troll.
The Soggy Bottom Boys did dance funny, and I also liked it. Like where he doesn't move his upper body at all at the concert. He just moved dancing with his legs.
Right,
I was
right.
like, this is so funny.
And Delmar singing like, I had a friend named that, and Pete's in the background doing this like,
yeah,
like just going back and forth with his arms, going like I don't even know what to call it.
Audio listeners have no idea what.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's doing either. It's
At some
crazy.
point, they got their arms like linked together, and they're going in a circle, like kind of going forward and then going back and then going forward.
It's very
just,
hillbilly.
It is like I don't even know. Yeah, I guess so. I've never seen a real hillbilly.
Yeah, but if you
dance.
had to improvise it, and they were like, "Hey, you just dance like a hillbilly," you would do that.
It was like Ministry of Silly Walks, Monty Python level of
yes.
Of silliness,
100%.
and I
no,
loved
but
it.
that's British though.
By far my biggest hit pick, which is like not really saying much. Anyways, the point that I was most impressed with the movie was the George Nelson scene where he kills the cows, and the car hits the cow. I was like, that looks real.
That was
That
pretty
looked
visceral.
really, really good. It was CGI.
It looks so
And I
real.
had to look it up, and apparently a lot of people had to look it up, and they
Yeah.
had a complaint from the Academy or something because they were like, yo, did you kill a cow for this?
It was
and they were
the
like, no.
Humane Society. They wouldn't give them a no animals were harmed rating until
Right.
they proved it was CGI because it looked so good.
Yeah, and then they
And
still
it actually wasn't, but then to get the rating, they had to
They
make
made
it.
it. Yeah,
CGI.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
I made that
but
up.
honestly, like I still have a little bit of skepticism there where I'm like, that looked like you fucking ran over a cow. dude.
That would be the one scene my wife was in the room for, and she was like, "Oh,"
Yeah. It was so visceral, and apparently it was fake.
but
well
because
done.
it had that impact. Half an hour later, when they're like, "Cow killer,"
Yeah.
that made me bust a gut.
You remember
Not a
it.
nut,
Busted a gut.
a gut.
Which is and apparently the character that guy represents
His baby face George Nelson.
killed a cow in the Odyssey. I forget who it is.
Naturally, gotta eat.
But that's a real guy. He just died 3 years prior to when the movie was supposed to start.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
George Nelson's a real dude.
bank robber guy.
Yeah. My last hit pick. I loved the travel scenes. It's like a third of the way through the movie where they actually just show them like walking places after their car breaks down, and they get separated from Tommy after the police come and bust them up. And there's like the kids walking the ice blocks, and they steal the pie and leave the money, and they get passed by the prisoner transport and stuff. I wish there was more of those kind of breaks in between some of this high speed stuff, because it's just nice to see them like traveling, being together, forming that bond. It kind of started to make more sense to why they were so close when it showed like how far they were traveling. It made the South look like Lord of the Rings. Like they were just walking
It's Mordor.
and walking. And
This sort of
walking.
is
It
like
was crazy.
there are some parallels to draw between this and Lord of the Rings
it's
here. I guess
Odyssey.
it's a big giant adventure for sure.
I like the kids holding, carrying the blocks of ice. Like their whole pant legs were soaked wet. It was realistic looking.
That probably
We're going
was
on a
nice.
quest.
But one man holding both
journey.
of those. You know, one man could do the work of those two kids. You
Maybe.
know?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
inefficient. Get those kids
Get
working on
stronger
something
kids.
else. Let's move on to fan service.
Oh no. Well, I haven't.
In constant service.
All through this place.
So last time we did that time travel movie Primer.
Yes.
This will not be interesting to Belle,
No.
but there are some dedicated fans who cleared up some questions we had. Namely, Carol Peters. That's a double E. Peters.
Okay.
Is it at the end of the movie when Aaron, remember we were discussing whether or not he's building one giant time machine or multiple time machines?
Yep.
KP here says it's definitely a big box. It's a big one. Throughout the movie, the walls of the boxes are covered in smaller cells, and he's just talking about putting one of those cells every meter. As for the purpose of the big one, these boxes can be used as duplicators. If they're larger, you can duplicate more stuff per trip. Another thing you could do is make multi-year trips, because if you had to stay in the box for a really long time, you would need more space for like long-term life support equipment.
Well, okay, so fair enough. But I also I have a counterpoint to that, pointed out by other people on one of these sites that I saw. If you have multiple boxes, you don't have to stay in one box for a really long time if you want to go back until like the very first point when you turn on the box, because you could activate a box and then a couple days later or hours later activate another box, a few hours later, days later activate another box, and then you could travel back in time to when you set the first box, wait a little bit, travel back in time and again, so it's like you get what I'm
like more
saying.
save points.
Yeah.
I like how you're telling me this. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
So either way could work. I mean, the main advantage of having one big giant box is that you can fit more stuff inside the box. But as we see, like the boxes are very easily collapsible. So I don't know. Anyways, I like that there's room for interpretation.
You think
there.
Belle would like this movie?
Have you seen the movie Cube?
Isn't that is that a Canadian movie? That's like a one location movie, right?
It's very, it's like a horror movie
Yeah, and
with this giant cube.
very
That's a
low
very big
budge. Like
box.
they shot it like in two different.
So when you're
rooms.
talking about big boxes, I think of Cube. Leave a comment down below if you've watched Cube and liked the video.
I think the movie we've covered that's most like that is Platform. The Platform. But I want.
That's where there's like a platform, right?
That's right. So when you say platform, like,
I say Cube.
do you like Facebook or YouTube as a platform? I think of the Cube. What?
I will say that. So I asked somebody to comment if they had any answer to the scene where Abe walks over to where Aaron should be in the box and he's not there.
Yeah, I saw some
And
answers.
then he walks back and then walks it back again and Aaron is there. This guy, Reshirt Wookie, says the part where Abe walks back and forth to see if Aaron is out of the box, they explain in the bit of dialogue right after it. Aaron is clearly in distress after exiting the box. And Abe says, you got out too early. You have to wait for the machine to cycle down, which means that Aaron got out too early from his perspective, but too late from the box's perspective. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it does. That's why, because Aaron's in the room and he's like, "Where's Abe?"
Which is why Aaron comes out a few minutes after Abe does. But no, they're not. I'm not talking about them coming out of the box. They're in the box.
No, because Mr. Peters, or I don't know the gender of this person, in their post also said that they addressed this point. And he said the scene where Abe is alone in the box and looks at his watch, he's actually not in the box at all. He's just gotten out of the box and is now standing in the storage unit, which has two boxes inside of it. So you're just mistaken on that point.
What?
He's looking at his watch because he's worried Aaron is not going to come out of his own box in time, but then he suddenly comes out and all is well. So the storage unit is not the box, just contains two smaller boxes.
No. That's not true. What do you mean? Do you mean the storage unit?
I don't know. I don't have the movie in front of me right now, man.
I thought the storage unit is the box.
What? You did?
They don't go into the box inside of the storage
Yeah, they
unit.
do.
They never show them doing that. They show them lying.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Yeah, the storage unit just contains two boxes that they go and climb into. That's actually on his point. They wrote, this might have also caused the oxygen mask confusion. They don't wear them inside the storage unit, but they do wear them inside the actual boxes. Because remember, we were discussing like, hey, where's those oxygen masks? Aren't they in the storage unit without wearing them? Yeah, they are, because the boxes are in the storage unit.
What?
Yeah,
I didn't get this at all.
You missed a key.
So these boxes are like TARDISes.
Is that for real?
They're bigger on the inside than the outside.
No.
No, they're just big or small boxes.
Wait. Oh, man.
I refuse to watch this movie, but I will ask questions as if I'm going to watch it.
Okay.
Roderick Cube.
I'm still not like 100% convinced that that's the case, but I'm going to look it up.
That's okay.
So then where does
You
Dick
just
in a
blew
Box
my
come
mind.
into this?
Pardon me?
Where does Dick in a Box come into this?
If you want a young-looking dick. Okay, let's go to Now Playing. Just only put your dick in the box. It goes back in time. You're like, it's paler now? I don't know. Anyways, what have you been watching lately? Listening to, consuming media. You've been going to plays.
Many, countless, and none have any stakes or high action.
Plays?
It's a callback
That's
joke.
a joke. Yeah.
Riley.
But I was like, are you actually going to plays?
Maybe. Do you want to go?
No.
All right. Well, I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
Why?
I'm behind the times, and I want to be a cowboy. So I watched it, or I've been playing it. What a good game. Holy smokes. I cannot believe I've waited this long.
Have you heard of this game, Grand Theft Auto?
Who?
I heard it's good.
Greater Toronto area. I've also been playing Dome Keeper, which is a new game. It's like, did you ever play Motherload, the
My
Flash
wife.
game?
No.
What made you think of Borat?
Dome Keeper? I don't know. It's just like a insult you could call somebody.
Well, I'm not going to explain it. Go play Dome Keeper. If you haven't played Red Dead, play it. But
It's the sequel to Dick Farmer.
This guy's full of beans today. I'm watching I Am a Killer.
Beans?
Full of beans.
You're full of piss and
Have you
vinegar.
ever seen I Am a Killer on Netflix?
No.
They interview people on death row. But the way they do it, they make it seem like this person shouldn't be on death row. And at the very end of like every episode, it twists to being like, there was very clear evidence this person's a murderer. And they like present it to the person. They're like, oh, no, you must be mistaken. But it's like every single one, it's like a gotcha. You start feeling bad for these prisoners on death row. Then it's like, but when the police got there, they were covered in blood and said, I killed this person. And they had a gun and they're the only person in the room. And it's just like every single time. I love true crime. True crime is so
Okay,
good.
that's
Way to
so
bring
funny.
it home. Way to bring it home.
That's so funny. We just talked about last week about how David thinks true crime is immoral and shouldn't exist in the world.
What?
Yeah.
Why is it supposed to inspire me to do crime? What is his logic on that?
I sort of agreed with him, and I don't agree that true crime as a genre should not exist and it can't exist. But I think that I also think that in general, more true crime content is not good for society.
Yeah, because if there was less, there'd be less crimes.
No, I think the main thing is that it desensitizes us to the horribleness of what's happening to these victims.
we
And
know
so
your views, Riley. You told us last
Right,
week.
we talked about it last week. But there is a comment from last video
Yes.
about it that I was
Yes.
going to read, but now it's pretty long.
Yeah.
Either
Anyways,
way,
that's funny. That's ironic that you were so...
I thought he did that on purpose because it was so good.
No, I love Burgess movies, and I've watched the episode, but I must have missed that spot.
Do you think
Well, it's
about
right at the end. You usually get out of here
Do you
by
think
then,
about the moral ramifications of what you do, Jake?
Honestly, constantly. Even right now. It's why I'm a man of constant sorrow.
Red Dead, you're just playing as the bad guy.
I just
No, I
think
play as a
like
good guy.
Oh, nice.
humans as animals like go through the world trying to like get information so that they can act appropriately in future scenarios, right?
Now I know what to do if someone tries to pull me into their van, I guess. Like, I don't know.
Exactly. So it's just like the pinnacle, like these stories of like one-off events that like could happen. Oh my god.
Yeah, it makes me appreciate life more, you know?
Oh, it's definitely fascinating, and there's obviously a reason why it's attractive, but is it good?
Riley, that's
People
why I
wanna get
value
wasted and
my
drunk and
time
ruin their
with
life.
you so
Speaking
much.
of GTA, wasted.
Greater Toronto area.
Yeah, get drunk there. It's fun.
What are you playing, James? Or reading or watching?
Caught up on Rings of Power. I think. Unless I don't know. I was watching some episodes during the day yesterday. There was a lot of
Oh, it's
nighttime.
still coming out.
A lot of nighttime scenes with the sun blaring on my OLED. I couldn't really see what was going on, but I think the good guys win. I don't know.
Is it a good show?
Keep
Wait,
watching. I'm still watching it.
Wait, which show are we talking
ROP.
about? Yeah, I saw a lot of people really praising the last episode. You're caught up now?
I believe so. I don't know if I saw the whole last episode. But
Okay. A lot of people praising the episode. Very exciting. And it was exciting. A lot of stuff happened, but I think I was like, it's even, there was one scene that in particular with Galadriel and
Icarus.
Adar.
Oh, spoilers then. I don't think I got to right to the end there.
Okay,
I got
well, spoilers of Rings of Power, obviously.
Well,
spoilers
It's
there
still
for the
coming
last
out.
10 minutes that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Because I know I was watching when the Numenorians like got there.
Oh, and then you didn't really watch after
I
that?
don't know if I saw them.
This
actually
happens
interact.
after that. You missed one of the best parts in the episode.
Dang it, I'll have to put that on.
Classic.
But the rest, I feel like the show, we've said it before, it's fine. I'm going to keep watching it. It just seems like a generic fantasy to me now instead of a Lord of the Rings show.
I'm not going to watch it then. Can't make me.
It's funny. At the beginning, they really like blow you away with how much they're like being like, this is like Lord of the Rings. We got the grand vistas and the music and the amazing CGI and the set design and like blah, blah, blah. And now at this point, it's starting to feel like Wheel of Time a little bit. It's starting to feel like...
I thought it was pretty Helm's
People liked
Deep-y.
Wheel of Time.
It was pretty Helm's Deep-y, but... Spoilers. No, you haven't watched the last 10 minutes. I have to spoil it for you.
Don't spoil it.
Fine, I'll take my
I haven't
headphones
watched
off.
it either.
I can't hear you
Who are
then.
you going to spoil it for? These people haven't watched it either if it just came out.
That's so annoying that you watched most of the episode, but not
That
the
is
end.
very weird.
I'm sorry, I have children.
10 minutes?
And when did you watch this? Like this morning? You haven't found another 10
It
minutes?
was like yesterday. No, I'm very busy.
Anyways,
You know how busy I am? 2 hours a day driving, guys.
the last 10 minutes
I feel
kind
that.
of ruined the rest of the episode
Okay.
for me.
More like Numa snore. No?
Yeah. I don't know. Yep.
Andor? Either of you watching Andor?
And-
My
Andor's-
friend is watching it, and I believe him. He said it was quite good.
I can't believe that everybody watched all the bad Disney shows, and now that there's actually a good one, everyone was so burned out on the shitty ones that
Yes.
they're like, I don't need to
That's
watch.
me. I'm exhausted
And they're like,
with
is
bad
it
TV.
good? I don't know. Book of Boba Fett was pretty bad. And I'm like, it's a completely different show. It's actually made by people who know how to make films and stuff. Like Tony Gilroy actually knows what he's doing here.
So it's good?
It is good. It's a good show.
Or is it just good compared to this drivel?
I would say it is a good show. It's not blowing me out of the water yet, but just to see a Star Wars property being handled by someone who seems like they know what they're doing is very reassuring.
Is it a good Star Wars show or is it a good space fantasy show?
I heard it had good writing.
It has good writing. It has good acting. It has good cinematography, color grading, editing.
How about battles? Does it have good battles?
There's one
Not
battle.
enough lightsabers.
It's not all about the battles.
Is there a lightsaber in it?
Not yet.
See,
I don't know if
you're
there
losing
ever will be.
See, I
It's
want
not
Star
about
Wars.
Jedi. That's what's so great about it. It's not about
But now
Jedi.
it's
There's no
just space.
stormtroopers. There's no bounty hunters.
It's not Star Wars.
Yeah, why do they even call it Star Wars?
It's in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, but
you
the-
watch it, you're like, this is Star Wars. But it doesn't. It's not
but it doesn't have
relying.
anything from Star Wars.
It's not relying on the member berries. It's not relying on. Like,
So where's Luke
look,
Skywalker?
At this point, he is on Tatooine, chilling.
Oh, where does
with
when
his
does this
moisture
take place?
farming?
Playing
After
Xbox.
He's moisture farming on his Xbox.
That's crazy. So
on
it's a prequel.
Tatooine. It's a prequel to Rogue One, which is a prequel to A New Hope.
Which one's A New Hope? 4?
Episode 4.
I didn't like the OG 3.
I miss David. He knows Star Wars
the
stuff.
original 3 Star Wars suck. That's a whole other conversation.
Nice, perfect place to wrap it up. You can
suck.
tweet at us at TJM Pod. You can email us, but Belle won't answer.
I will.
Hello at they'rejustmovies.com. You can call Belle at home,
Yeah.
604-778.
Just
I just made those numbers up.
you did. That I mean, you were correct. but you did make this up.
6969.
Bam.
His number is 604-420-6969.
420.
Please call me.
It's a 1-900 number, actually.
1-900.
He just answers with that voice. It's like,
1337. That's a different one.
that's for nerds.
That's
That's a nerd number.
End it. End this.
Goodbye.
Bye.
That's how we do it. Oh, next week, I don't know. Look in the description.
Yep. Sorry.